So, Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. It's actually Grindelwald, because he's German, but I guess they pronounce it Grindelwald in the movie pretty much. I think everyone pronounces it that way, but I'm still going to say Grindelwald because that's how you would say it in the English, even though the proper German pronunciation would be Grindelwald. But I'm still going to say Grindelwald, so whatever. Where was I? Where was I with this? So, Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindewald has just come out. I just watched it yesterday. And so, I guess let's talk about it. What do you think? No one there. Oh, well, I guess I'll just have to talk about it. So, what did I think? Well, to preface this, usually I talk a little bit about the backstory, especially with these big franchises. So, I read Harry Potter growing up. I think, when did the first book come out? I don't remember. I remember reading, the third book came out when I was in 6th grade. So I was, I think, a little bit older than Harry Potter, at least when the book's coming out. But I mean, I was still growing up. And I was a big fan of them. And I also liked the movies. And I also liked Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. In general, I felt, especially after watching this movie and remembering how I felt about the first Fantastic Beasts, I felt like the first Fantastic Beasts was a little rushed. And I mean, not the production, but it just in general, in the way, the pacing of the story felt very rushed. And it reminded me of some other movies that just, I don't know what it is. It's just, they're so focused on the getting from action beat to action beat that everything in the story just feels like it's rushed. And that's one of the things that I liked about this new movie is it doesn't feel rushed. I don't know, maybe some people might feel like it's a little too slow in parts, but actually I really liked the fact that it didn't feel like a roller coaster ride like the first film. Like the first film really felt like too much of a departure from the way the Harry Potter movies are paced, and that the Harry Potter movies are very much year-long stories because they're, school year tales, except for the 7th and 8th movie, which are taking place in school, but they're still sort of following that same format, time-wise. And the Fantastic Beasts was the first departure from that formula, and even though this movie itself doesn't follow a similar formula as the Harry Potter movies, it's more like the first Fantastic Beasts in the way it's telling its story. It still felt better pacing. So, before I get too much on specific thoughts on Fantastic Beasts, I will say I thought it was a good movie. I liked it. I still feel that it's a little unnecessary, and especially in the way they're telling it. I mean, it's kind of combining two different things. The idea of doing another sequel to this Fantastic Beasts movie that they made, and then the idea of doing these prequel series. Now, when they came out with the first Fantastic Beasts, the idea that they were already setting up the idea for the prequel series, but it kind of feels like there's some revisionist things in this movie that they didn't really retcon things, but it kind of feels like, even though they knew they were going to make all these movies when they released the first Fantastic Beasts, because it's Harry Potter related and Warner Brothers really needs the franchises, it felt like there were things that they left only slightly open-ended, or you kind of have to change. Like Credence, for one. I just like Newt Scamander, I thought he died at the first one, and then at this movie, it's like, nope, he's not dead. And I actually knew that before going into the movie because he was shown in the character art, and I was wondering, wait, I thought he died, and they don't really explain that. I mean, it's been a while since I saw the movie, so I mean, I guess I would have to go back and see what actually happens. But it wasn't that. It didn't seem that vague in the first movie, that to the point that they were seemed like they were really setting up something more with this character. It really seemed like that was the end of the plot for that character, and then they kind of, like I said, it's a sort of revisionist, like, oh, but we are going ahead with making these movies. So it seemed like they set certain things up in the first movie just in case it might be just a one movie thing. And then, and this one is definitely much more of like, no, this is definitely going to however many movies. It seems like it's going to be more than a trilogy. 4 or 5 movies, I don't know. And so you have the Credence thing, and then you also have Dumbledore telling Newt Scamander, it's basically revising. I mean, we knew, it's not so much... should I say revising? Well, kind of, because now we get information that Newt Scamander didn't just go to America to release this bird, or it's been a while since I saw it, but now you get the information that Dumbledore sent him there on purpose, and it's sort of revising some of the events of the first movie, just in that to set up this grander story of, okay, so why is Newt working for Dumbledore? Oh, it turns out he's been working for Dumbledore to begin with, and it's trying to set up Newt as a more of a major player in the story, I guess. That was one of the things, like, when they announced, the cast list and what fully explained what the sequel was going to be. I wasn't necessarily that excited for. I liked Newt Scamander in the first Fantastic Beasts, but I didn't really feel like we needed another movie with them, and I kind of would have in some ways would have preferred a sequel, not a sequel, but like a prequel series like they were going into, and then just let Fantastic Beasts movie be its own thing, or maybe make each movie with different characters, because that's one of the things. Even though these characters are the same, I guess, from the first movie, I don't feel like we have had enough an attachment to them that it really feels like we're seeing more from these characters. It just feels like getting reintroduced to characters that we didn't really know that well to begin with. Queenie, for one, I honestly didn't even remember the psychic thing from the first movie. I don't know. I feel like a lot of the things from the first movie just didn't make enough of an impact. The things that did were the beasts and Newt Scamander, not so much the minor characters like Queenie. The Muggle guy, can't remember his name, he was a big impression, so seeing him in the sequel was kind of nice, even though he pretty much does the same thing. And yeah. Other things. Okay, so this movie is definitely very... It's not so much lore heavy, but there are certain things in the movie that if you're not familiar with Harry Potter, you're just not going to get. The entire character of Nicholas Flamel, for one thing. If you have not seen or read the first Harry Potter movie, you're probably not gonna get that. My friend who I went and saw the movie did not understand that reference or what that meant. So yeah, this is definitely getting into very heavy Harry Potter stuff. Oh, actually, okay, I'm gonna talk about spoilers. So I hate giving spoiler warnings, because why are you watching this movie if you haven't seen spoilers? But I'm going to be talking about something that's definitely a big spoiler about Credence's character. So, okay, so he's a Dumbledore. Yeah, my friend hasn't really even seen the Harry Potter movies. He's seen like bits and pieces. He doesn't really understand the story. He didn't understand what that meant, because he keeps confusing who Dumbledore is for some reason. He thought that he was saying he was Voldemort for some reason, and that's not that. But anyway, so Credence is Dumbledore, which is interesting, and at the same time, I don't know if it's as shocking a reveal as they want it to be. I mean, I guess it's not a Luke, I am your father moment. But it is a sort of like revealing something interesting for the next movie. I mean, what does this mean for him? And I guess I'm interested to see how exactly is he a Dumbledore. I don't remember. Albus Dumbledore the last of his line, or is this another branch of the family? Is he a cousin to Dumbledore? Which I would probably assume. I'm assuming he's not Dumbledore's son, because that seems like it's getting way too complicated especially for the character of Dumbledore. But I guess we'll see in the next movie. Oh, and the movies are really kind of getting even further away from the wizards pronouncing their magic, to the point where I don't know if it was ever said in the books or not, but now people are doing the killing curse without even having to say Avada Kedavra. And I don't know, I don't remember if it says in the books or not. I know there's parts of the books where it talks about people using killing curses, and it doesn't specifically say that they're saying it. And I don't know how I feel about that. I guess in a sense, if the power is coming from the wizard and not the words, then it makes sense why someone would be able to, just use the killing curse. But then you would have to wonder, why does such a powerful wizard like Voldemort even bother saying Avada Kedavra if you can just do it without saying it? I mean, I guess the whole point of him even saying it is just for dramatic effect, I guess. But it really seems like now they're with the movies, they're pretty much completely dropping the whole wizard saying the magical phrase, and they're just going with the wizards waving their wand around thing and having magical lights, which isn't terrible. I mean, I think it's easier in the books when you can actually read what they're saying, and you get a better understanding of what spells they're using, and you can kind of, I think, better explore the way they're using the magic. Whereas in the movies, especially this movie, he does, there's several different things that happen, which, like, I'd be interested if there was like a novelization to see what exactly they're doing, because like Newt does this sort of special spell to kind of like do a crime scene and see what happened, who was there, what magical creatures were there, which is interesting. And Grindelwald does the bit of magic with the blue fire that you see in the trailer. And yeah, it doesn't. One of the things I think, especially wasn't great about the finale, is that the fact that you don't understand what's really going on or what that magic means. It kind of takes away from like the final finale with the blue fire. I mean, you get that it's killing people. It just, I don't know, it didn't seem quite to have the same impact, and I wonder if part of that is that we don't get a real explanation for what's going on. I mean, we understand it's a blue fire and it's going to consume everyone, but then it's heightened even further at the end, where the Nicholas Flamel shows up and says that it's going to consume all of Paris. And I feel like it would have been better for those, I don't know, the stakes were sort of not as clear, and you get the sense that it's expanding, but not, I don't know, I think in a sense it's like it's just too confusing camera cinematography work. You really don't get a sense of where anybody is. I feel like I lost track of where the characters was, and you have too many different characters at that point, and you just I thought it was confusing as to where people are and whether the threat is getting more or less, because I feel like even though you're supposed to assume that the threat is getting bigger and bigger, right? But you don't really see that, and it's kind of confusing. You just see people die, and like, oh, that is supposed to make you think that this is getting bigger or not. But then, like, you see Newt and his brother just fighting it off, and it's just not. It isn't very clearly communicated the growing threat of the blue fire, and even though I liked the movie, I have to say that finale was not done as well as it should have been. I feel like just in terms of the cinematography, it needed to better communicate what was going on. And then there were just too many characters. Even once pretty much all the the spectators disapparated, it was still too many people to understand what was really going on. And probably just needed to group them together or do something, or I don't know. While I'm talking about the end, I do also need to talk about the I totally missed what it was called, but the little pendant thing that has Albus Dumbledore's and Grindelwald's blood together, and it sort of is explained that this is the reason Dumbledore can't move up against them, because they sort of made basically it's a blood magic pact that they won't hurt each other. So this is sort of offering the explanation of why didn't Dumbledore go against Grindelwald and take him down. And I guess they're even more pushing that back because Newt asks him the question of if he can destroy, and Dumbledore isn't sure exactly how he's going to be able to do that. So obviously it's supposed to be so powerful that even though Dumbledore has it with him, he's not able to just, crush it and destroy it. So that's obviously not going to happen in the next movie. I'm pretty sure they're not making this a trilogy. Probably the next one after that, maybe? I don't know. So I feel like I haven't looked into what people are saying about this movie yet, but I feel like that's one of the things that some people are not going to be happy about, because a lot of people assume there was something between Grindelwald and Dumbledore. And I feel like in the books, starting with the 7th book, we get to learn more about Dumbledore's past. And it even reading it the first time, you just get this hint of like, did something happen between them? You get sort of slight homoerotic vibes, and then J.K. Rowling came out afterwards, after all the books were done, and with her various other Pottermore stuff, and she was just revealing facts about the characters. She just dropped oh, BT dubs, I think Dumbledore is gay, but never put it in the books. So that's one of the things I kind of feel like, just from the book standpoint and from what J.K. Rowling said, you can either accept or ignore. You can read into the character that way if you want to, but for the most part, if you don't want to, you don't have to either, because nothing in the books say anything about that. I mean, some people will defend it because they'll say, well, because Dumbledore is not the main character, and most of it you wouldn't even see it. But I think if J.K. Rowling if she really did think of Dumbledore as a gay character, there's no reason she couldn't have written that in Book 7 when we learn more about Dumbledore's past. Especially when we learn about Dumbledore and Grindelwald. That's where you would have put it if she really did consider Dumbledore a gay character. And, this is I'm not going to go into a rant about that. But it just feels like slight revisionist history of but I kind of think of him as gay, but I didn't write it that way, so... It doesn't matter what she says. She didn't write it that way. But now, going into the movie. Okay, so this is the first movie where you get young Dumbledore. And I would say it copies the 7th book, as in the homoeroticism is there, but not confirmed. And I feel like some people may have assumed that the reason Dumbledore never went against Grindelwald would be just purely because he has feelings for him. And I think that might be part of it, but I do think it is somewhat better for there to be more explanation for it. Now, I kind of hope... We'll see. I kind of hope in the future movies they don't just explain it and say that it is purely just this magical bit. That, I would think it would be more interesting if in a future movie where they get to explore their past more. But I think... the idea that Dumbledore wouldn't be able to go against some Grindelwald after everything he's done just because of how he feels, I don't know. I think at a certain point, you have to be able to get over it. You have to be, even if you have feelings for someone, they're so not that person anymore. I don't know. I'd be curious to see if they get past, if they do anything more than just the hinting, because that's all that was in this movie. Now, honestly, I didn't think they were even going to do that, but I kind of worried that they're not going to. They're just going to leave these slightly homoerotic hints that something happened in the past, and maybe they'll do. I really hope they do a like a Beauty and the Beast in like the last film, and then show Dumbledore walking away with some guy and say, "Oh man, first Harry Potter gay scene." Hopefully they don't do that. And also hopefully they don't do the old Queen thing where you have Dumbledore saying he'll never love anyone again because of something that happened in his past, while not actually referring to what that was in his past. But I would be worried that they're I don't know if they're going to do anything more. But hopefully, I hope they do something more than that, because, you know, I don't know, do something different. In general, I thought Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald was good. Definitely more of a watch for Harry Potter fans. I think it's still enjoyable if you haven't seen Harry Potter. There's just a lot of things that you're just not going to get if you haven't seen, if you're not familiar with the Harry Potter movies. And like I said with Nicholas Flamel, if you haven't, if someone hasn't seen and like really remembered some, like the first Harry Potter movie, they're not gonna get why this guy's there. But at the same time, you know, you don't necessarily have to. It's just a guy, and all you need to know is that he's a friend of Dumbledore's. You know, I don't think you would come out of the movie saying I don't understand the plot of the movie, but you definitely get more out of it if you're a Harry Potter fan. That's my thoughts for Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. I don't know when the next one's coming out. I don't know how well it's going to do at the box office. I hope that it does okay at the box office. You know, there's just a lot of competition coming out, I know, in the next weeks. Especially Thanksgiving. Next week is going to be Wreck-It Ralph. I'll try to make a video on that. And then we're going to get into December with Aquaman. And then there's going to be Disney's releasing Mary Poppins around Christmas. And then you have Bumblebee, I think, and several other blockbusters. Several movies that are probably going to tank, unfortunately. Some weird ones. I saw the trailer for Alita Battle Angel, the new one trailer, in front of this Fantastic Beast, and I have to say it still weirds me out. The big eyes, it doesn't work for me. Yeah, I get it that they're trying to copy the manga, and she's a robot, so she doesn't have to have realistic proportions, but it just looks weird, and I don't like it. Especially since no one else looks that way. It just, I don't know. Not even the other robots have like weird looking proportions in their faces. It's just literally just her from what I've seen. So that looks weird. I probably won't see it, to be honest, because it costs too much to see movies, and yeah, I can't see everything, so probably not gonna see that one. And I guess I'll see you in the next video.